So guys, we are back and today we'll be doing the next topic or chapter 1, part 2 from volume 1. So let us continue where you have stopped yesterday. So today we'll be learning a very important model which is called as OSI reference model. Now in this model, we have 7 layers. But before we discuss about this model, let us see how this model has been developed or why this model has been developed. So this model was developed by ISO, International Standard Organization, and it's called as OSI reference model, Open System Interconnection Reference Model. Now, why this model was developed? If you look at the concept earlier, maybe 20 years back, when different company used to manufacture their own product, they used to have their own standard. And due to that, multiple vendor devices were not able to work with each other. That means they were incompatible or there was no interoperability between devices from multiple vendors. So to avoid that or to stop that issue, they have started this model with ISO. So ISO have decided, okay, let us create a universal model where everyone can follow, whether they are into hardware, software, or networking, they can follow this model and design their devices. And they should work with each other. So what are the benefits of this model? Yes, the main benefits of this model that it allows interoperability between multiple vendor devices. It also helps you in easy understanding of the network. It also helps you in easy design or implementation or operation of a network. It also helps you in easy troubleshooting of a network. And it also helps you in modular designing or modular engineering. That means you can develop certain or a particular component or protocol which will be related to a particular layer without affecting other layers. Okay. Now, if you come back to this model, or if you look at this model, we have 7 layers, and the layers starts from down and it goes towards up. So if you look at this model with 7 layers, layer 1 is called as physical layer. Then we have data link layer, that is layer 2. Layer 3 is called network layer. Layer 4 is called transport layer. Layer 5 is called as session layer. Layer 6 is called as presentation layer. And layer 7 is called as application layer. Generally, the lower layer gives services to the upper layer. It means that if I have a problem in network layer, my above layer will not work. That means from transport layer, it will not work. Your physical layer, data link layer will work, but the problem exists in network layer. So all the upper layers are affected due to that. And every layer, they have their own function. So we'll look into each of these layers in details and about their function. Upper 3 layers, that is layer 5, 6, and 7, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer, can be combined together or can be called as application layer. And the lower 4 layers are combinedly called as data flow layer, where your actual data movement takes place. So let us look into each of these layers and what are the function of each layer. So first we'll go through application layer, that is layer 7. And in this layer, we have few or most of the application related to network are working here. What is the major function? Yes. Application layer actually works as a middle layer between the user and the application or the network. So using the application, we are able to connect to the network. Simply, it can be called as an user interface. For example, if I want to do Facebook, I need an application. So I open the browser. The browser acts as an application through which I'm able to do the network or I'm able to do Facebook. So it helps us to connect to the network through application. And that's the job of application layer. Okay. And there are many applications or application protocol which are working in application layer. Okay. Telnet, SNMP, SMTP, POP3, FTP. There are many. Next, we go to presentation layer. If you look at presentation layer, this layer deals with how the data has to be presented or how the data has to be represented at the source and at the destination. It also deals with encryption, decryption, compression, decompression, and every kinds of data will be represented according to their format. Like text, we can have ASCII code or ABCD. For picture or for image, we have JPEG, GIF, TIFF, PNG. There are many. For video, we have MPEG, MP4, DAT, AVI, and then for audio, we can have MP3, MIDI, WAV. There are many. There are few or some of them what you can go through. So if you look at this presentation layer, it gives me the actual format, or it gives the representation of your actual data at the source, which will be represented exactly at the destination. Okay. Now, for example, if I write a code to transmit my data written in a particular language, the same thing has to be represented at the destination. Next, we go to session layer. If you look at session layer, it says it keeps every application data separate from each other. Like a particular job, two jobs will not be mixed with each other. For example, if I open a tab, okay, in my browser, if I have opened tab and, or let's take, I have opened multiple tabs. In one tab, I have Hotmail, in another tab, Gmail, another Yahoo Mail, like this. Now, if I type something in particular, that Hotmail tab, that those particular data doesn't impact those other tab with Gmail or Yahoo Mail. So every job or every task is created with a particular session, and that's the job of session layer. But it gets those function from the operating system. That's why most of the operating system what we have, what we use now, are all called as multi-session and multitasking. It keeps every job separate, every task separate from each other. Next, we go to transport layer. If you look at transport layer have few functions which are very, very important. Mainly the transport layer deals with transmission of data, and the transmission of data can happen in different way. Okay, majorly connection oriented, or it will be connectionless, it will be reliable or unreliable, guaranteed or unguaranteed. So these are the way how the transmission can happen. So it also deals with retransmission of data in case of failure or bad transmission. Okay, that comes under error correction or error control. It also deals with flowing or flow control, flowing of data. And there are 3 ways to control or check your flowing of data. It can have stop and wait technique. It can have buffering technique, or it can have windowing technique. Now, windowing technique is the most popular for flow control. So if you have a window size of 1, to every cycle, it will give to send 1 byte of data. Okay, and then it will wait for the next cycle, like that. Every cycle, it will transmit 1 byte of data. And if you look at the last function of transport layer, it's called as sequencing. Mostly, when the data are transmitted, it will be transmitted in a sequence. That means if I send packet number 1, the next packet will be 2, next packet will be 3. It will not send in a random manner, like 1, 11, 20, 33, 14, 19, not like that. It will have a sequence number, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So these are the things what we need to know about transport layer. 2 major protocols which works in this layer is TCP and UDP. So TCP is transmission control protocol. It is connection oriented and reliable. So connection oriented means it will have a particular dedicated path between source and the destination. Reliable means for every transmission of data, it will have an acknowledgement. Reliable, guaranteed, and sequence, acknowledged. And UDP, user datagram protocol, which is connectionless. That means it will not have a particular dedicated path between source and the destination for transmission of data. And it is unreliable, not guaranteed, and no acknowledgement. Okay, so for every transmission of data, there will be no acknowledgement for it. Next, we go to network layer. If you look at network layer has 2 functions. One is logical addressing, that is IP addressing, and routing. Routing means finding the best path to reach destination. And there are many protocols which works in this layer. Okay, all your routed protocol, routing protocol works in this layer. So many protocols which works here. We'll come to know in the later chapter what are the different protocols we use. Okay, so that will be discussed accordingly. Next, we go to data link layer. And if you look at data link layer is actually subdivided into 2 sublayers. The upper sublayer is called as LLC, logical link control. And the lower sublayer is called as MAC layer, media access control. Now, when you look at this data link layer as a whole, the major function of this layer is to make or create frame. And it deals with error detection, but not correction. That means it can tell that I have a problem, but it cannot solve the problem. So the correction will be done either at the transport layer or at the application layer, depends on which protocol you are running, either TCP or UDP. So generally, logical link layer, LLC, communicates with network layer using SAP, service access point. And MAC layer, media access control layer, communicates with physical layer, and it is uniquely connected using MAC address, or that's why it is also called as physical address, which is communicated with physical layer. Your LAN technologies and WAN technologies mostly works in layer 1 and layer 2. And there are many protocols or technologies works in data link layer, like your Ethernet, ADLC, PVP, frame relay, ADM, all works in this data link layer. Next, we go to physical layer. If you look at physical layer deals with actual data movement, actual transmission of data in the form of digital number, 011, binary number, and also deals with voltage level, bandwidth, types of wires, connectors, number of pins, speed. All these things will be discussed or dealt in physical layer. So that's the function of every layer or each layer in OSI model. It is used as a reference for designing or implementation or understanding or development related to any networks, or dealing with hardware, software related to networks. Now, if you look at this slide, it says devices works in a particular layer. Not every devices or all the devices work in all layers. So you have to know which devices works in which layer. It says, if you look at physical layer, I have these devices like hub, concentrator, amplifier, repeater, modem, all these devices, they work in physical layer. Now, if you look at data link layer, yes, it deals with NIC, that is your LAN card, Ethernet card, or network card, then you have bridge, switch, all these comes under data link layer. But if you look at network layer, you have router, layer 3 switch. Then you have gateways, yes, it will be working on all the upper layers. Even the firewall, it depends, it can work in layer 4 or layer 7. Your app, AP or WAP, they also work in layer 2, okay, data link layer. Now, if I want to build any kind of network, what we have discussed yesterday, I need 3 major components. Now, those 3 major components are media, network device, and protocol. Now, if you look at those 3 components and if you relate to this OSI model, generally all medias works in physical layer. And the protocol, what we have discussed yesterday, all those protocols works in network layer. But network devices works in different layer as per their function. Next, we have TCP/IP DoD model, and this model has 4 layers. Now, TCP/IP DoD model means transmission control protocol, internet protocol. DoD means Department of Defense model. So we have 4 layers in this model. And if you compare these 4 layers with OSI model, which has 7 layers, generally upper 3 layers, that is layer 5, 6, and 7, are combined into one layer, which is called as application layer in TCP/IP model. Transport layer is called as host-to-host layer. Network layer is called as internet layer. And again, the lower 2 layers, that is data link layer and physical layer, combined together and called as network interface layer or network access layer. So if you relate or map accordingly, we have 4 layers in TCP/IP DoD model. But the function of the layer remains same. Now, if you look at application layer of TCP/IP model, it will have all the function of 3 layers from OSI model. That is session layer function, presentation layer function, and application layer function. Okay. So that is about your DoD model. Now, in your exam or in your interview, if you get question, so they'll mention the question is asked from which particular model. So read the question thoroughly and then answer. Next, Cisco hierarchical model. This model has 3 layers. Okay. Now, if you compare this 3-layer model with OSI reference model, remember all the layers starts with bottom layer. That means the lower layer is layer 1. That means in this model, access layer is layer 1. Then you have distribution layer, and then you have core layer. So if you look at access layer will be represented from OSI model as physical layer and data link layer. Distribution layer, yes, it will be represented by network layer and transport layer combined together. And if you look at core layer will be dealing with session layer, presentation layer, and application combined together. So that's how each of them work as compared to each other. Next, this point I have also discussed few points yesterday, but if you look at this concept of collision domain and broadcast domain, it will give you a clear picture how the hub network works. Now, what is a domain? Domain means a logical room, and collision domain means when 2 or more devices transmit data at the same time or talk at the same time, then accident or collision will happen. But this happens only in hub network, in a hub duplex Ethernet network. That's why you do not use this particular concept or this particular device anymore. That we have discussed yesterday when we were discussing about hub. So, for example, when I'm talking to you all, and if 2 of you talk to me at the same time, I will not be able to distinguish who is talking about. That means your talks are getting collided and I'm not able to receive the data, receive your word. So same thing happens in collision domain. Generally, collision domain is created by layer 2 device or a switch or a bridge. Now let us go to broadcast domain. If you look at broadcast domain means when one device sends data, everyone receives that data. Let me, for example, now I am talking. All of you in the class are able to hear my voice because we are in the same room. If one of you goes to another room and I'm giving lecture here, he'll not be able to hear my voice. Why? Because he's in different room. So a broadcast domain means when one device talks, other device listen. And broadcast domain is created by router. That means a switch, bridge, hub, they all have single broadcast domain. But router has multiple broadcast domain. So let us look into the feature of these devices. Hub, if you compare, it has a single collision domain and single broadcast domain. Bridge and switch, it has multiple collision domain, but single broadcast domain. But router, it will have multiple collision domain and multiple broadcast domain also. For example, I have hub, bridge, switch, and router, and I want to compare them with collision domain, broadcast domain. So if all these devices, for example, all these devices have 4 ports or 4 interfaces, hub will always have one collision domain and one broadcast domain because that's the feature. That's a default feature of hub. Same way, you will have bridge and switch. If you look at the collision domain, since it has 4 ports or 4 interfaces, it will have 4 collision domain, but single broadcast domain. Okay, you can see here, It has multiple collision domain, which depends on number of ports in the device. Next, but if you look at router, it has 4 ports. It will have 4 collision domain and 4 broadcast domain. Now, suppose I have devices, let's take a router with 10 ports. It will have 10 collision domain and 10 broadcast domain. Switch and bridge with 10 ports, it will have 10 collision domain, but broadcast domain will be single. But in case of hub, even it has 100 ports, it will always have single collision domain and single broadcast domain. Now let us look into the concept of transmitting data from source to the destination using reliable transport layer protocol. So reliable transport layer protocol I have discussed, it is TCP, transmission control protocol. Now, if you look at TCP or a reliable transport layer protocol, whenever it wants to send data to the destination, it will exchange 3 packets between source and the destination, between sender and the receiver. And this three packet exchange is also called as 3-way handshake connection. Now, the first packet will be communicated or transmitted from source to the destination, which is called as synchronized packet. Then the destination is going to acknowledge, synchronize acknowledge, and the third one will be sent from source to the destination called as acknowledge. After the exchange of these three packets, then your connection is established. After the connection establishment, it will transfer the data. After transfer of data, the connection can be disconnected. Now, this 3 packet exchange happens only in reliable transport layer protocol, that is TCP, not in UDP. Okay, next. So we have discussed the reliable or transmission of data from one end to another end, I mean from source to destination. So let us look into what is going on inside a particular device at the source and what is going on at the other end, that is destination. So let us look into the detail how it happens or what happens at the source end. If you look at the source end, the data processing goes from upper layer towards down layer, lower layer. And this complete process will be called as an encapsulation. Why? Because at every layer it will add header. Then it will be pushed downward, where it will add its own header. Same way, it will go downward, again it will add its own header. Again it will go downward, it will add its own. Like that complete process from data movement from upper to lower layer by adding header at every layer is called as encapsulation. Generally, upper 3 layers, that is application layer, presentation layer, and session layer, here the data has no special name. They are just called as user data. But once the transport layer header is added, it creates a special name called as segment. Same way, the special name at network layer is called as packet. Data link layer, it is frame, and physical layer, it's bit. This special name is also termed as PDU, protocol data unit. So if I mention or ask, what is the PDU in network layer or layer 3? The answer should be packet. Now, if you look at layer 2, it will add 2 header because it has 2 sublayer, and it will do error checking twice. FCS means frame check sequence. So it will do error checking or error detection. Okay, so error detection happens at this layer. It will add header as well as tailer. Then all the bits or all the frames are converted into digital number bits, and those bits will be transmitted to the other end, that is your destination. And exactly opposite things happen at this layer or at this end. What are the things? Yes, that means when the data is received in the binary format, at the physical layer, it will remove its own header. That means physical layer is going to remove its header, that is physical header. Then it will be going upward. Okay, it will be sent to data link layer, and the data link layer header will be removed. Same way it will go to the network layer header will be removed. Then it goes to transport layer header will be removed. Then session layer header will be removed. Then it goes to presentation layer header will be removed. Then it will go to application layer, it will remove the application layer, and then you will get the original data. So original data will be received, okay, at application layer. But the process, what is happening after the data is received at the destination end, the data moves from down to upper layer, removing header at its own layer and getting the original data at the end. This process is called as de-encapsulation. Okay, so the final data or the original data which was there at the source, I received at the destination at the end of de-encapsulation. So encapsulation happens at the source end and de-encapsulation happens at the destination end. Okay, so that's the topic, end of topic for today. And we have completed chapter 1, part 2. So tomorrow we'll be doing the next chapter, where we'll be dealing with cabling, different types of cable and different types of devices, and the connection. So actually we have completed few topics which should have been covered in the next chapter, but we have covered here in this chapter itself. Okay, so thank you guys, and see you in the next class.